going back to what we started now countless hours ago about how wrong I am. So I paid Anna the bet earlier today, and in case we were wondering off camera, I did actually give her the money and the $400, and at this point, Trump ain't leaving anyway, et cetera. All right, so we started out with me being wrong there, and I'm looking at my pool that I filled out here, and I was wrong again. And so I think I've learned my lesson, and I'm wrong on both of those for the same exact reason. And it's the one thing out of all the things a mistake I shouldn't make, which is, so for example, I thought the Democrats were gonna pick up 5 Senate seats, okay? You see it on the top right there. So I'm less worried about the Electoral College in this context, more focused on the Senate seats that I thought they were gonna pick up and they didn't. Because I keep thinking about how weak the Republican position is, that you see the polling and you see how many voters that Trump has lost, and so you think, well, I mean, how do you lose to this party, right? Schmuck. Democrats can always find a way to lose. And I underestimated that when I said Trump would be driven out of office. Well, that would require the Democrats giving a 1% effort, right? And instead of a negative 20% effort. And so I kept just looking at the Trump side of the ledger. And we saw it in 2016. I should have learned my lesson right there. There isn't anyone that the Democrats couldn't lose to. They lost to Trump in 2016. And here we are. I mean, it looks like Biden's gonna win, but not by much, 4 years later. So of all people, I should have known that better. So the Democrats can't pick up 5 seats in the Senate if their life depended on it. It doesn't matter how big the theoretical wave is. It doesn't matter if the president is Beelzebub. I mean, Trump and Beelzebub, it's a toss-up, right? And they still couldn't pick up Senate seats because on the other side of the ledger is the loser Democrats. And so once again, they've done nothing but lose. I mean, they're gonna squeak it out against Beelzebub on the presidential level. Congrats! Lowest bar in American history, and I guarantee you when it happens, all the media will turn around and talk about how great the Democrats were for winning.
Because that'll galvanize this approach. Anytime the Democrats have won with this halfway approach, they get congratulated for it. Pats on the back all around. That was a great job. That's the way you do it. And then you lose for the next decade. Then you win one, and you're like, that's the way you do it. So the pats on the back are there to help push that. I mean, I'm sorry for one more of the sports analogies. Cenk, you got me started on these. If you're a kid who didn't play Pop Warner and you end up playing football later on in life, and you put on pads for the first time when kids are big, you don't really want to hit yet. So you're afraid to play the game. That's the way the Democrats just generally are. They're afraid to hit. So then once hitting starts, they're like, well, maybe if I kind of hit, I can get through this practice without getting hurt. And then if the guy who keeps hitting me in this one-on-one drill keeps destroying me, maybe if I tell him I'll kind of go your way, I'll just fall, you run over me, I'll get through this alive. But every once in a while, maybe the ball hits the ground and you fumble. Or some of those fumbles, you pick it up, you're like, I had a good play there. I guess my timid approach has worked for me this whole time. And you get congratulated for the one time you pick up a random fumble because the other team decided to finally drop the ball and fumble it right in front of you before you actually made the play. This is the approach that Democrats like to take when it comes to the way they push for politics. They're afraid of representing what the majority of Americans want. Where's the fear? Where's the fear? People are begging you, play the game. We just put you in the game. You just got off the bench. Get in the game. Hey, there's a few players, Justice Democrats, real progressives, that are in the game and they're playing it and everybody's rooting for them. Why don't you jump on with that? I don't know what's gonna shake the fear out of them, but losing should be enough. You would think losing would tell you to finally play the game differently. I'm not sure what we can do to force them to play the game differently. Yeah, we know it's the corporate money and everybody gets paid to lose, all that stuff. But there's a level of ego in here eventually where it has to kick in with some of these guys. They ran for office. Don't you wanna win?
No, that's why Just Democrats has only one litmus test: no corporate PAC money. Because guys, honestly, I mean, this is a hilarious thing to say in the midst of all this, but it's not that complicated. I solved it 10 years ago. That's why I started Wolfpack 9 years ago. But solving it doesn't mean that you win. That means, okay, you have to then apply that formula, right? And the reason I keep coming back to the media is because they're the biggest obstacle we have. So this is how it logically works. They get, Democrats are hooked on donor money. That's why they don't fight for $15 minimum wage. They don't fight for healthcare because they're getting tons of money from pharmaceutical industries, tons of money from corporations. They don't want to increase their wages because every dollar extra they pay to their workers is a dollar out of their profits, right? So it's just a fact. So and so they go purchase all these Democratic politicians, and the politicians win when they have more money, especially in primaries. And if you're in safe blue states or safe blue districts, all you got to do is win the primary. And it's super easy to win your primary, especially before Justice Democrats came around, if you have more money. You're almost definitely going to win, and the media is going to tell everybody you're going to win, that you're the more credible candidate because of how much money you raised. So that is why the entire Democratic political party got structured around pleasing donors. Because Jayar, it actually was, in a lot of ways, logical. If you're in a very safe blue area, and the way to win the seat is to kiss the ass of the donors, well, then you kiss the ass of the donors. And then when the donors say, shut up, you're not gonna help the people, you go, oh yes, sir, of course, sir. What the hell did you pay me for? Yeah, paid me to be your servant. And so now, look, that's an easy thing to comprehend. And you might not put it as harshly as I did, but you all get the idea, right? So why do I blame the media? Because it's the job of the media to report what is happening in politics. And they see that phenomenon, and they go, nope, not gonna report it. Instead, I'm gonna report the opposite. Donor money doesn't influence politicians at all. They're all honorable people, and the Democrats are super strong and amazing politicians. And it sounds like hyperbole. It's not, I'm underselling it. The thing that they all call Nancy Pelosi is master legislator. Once with a supermajority, she won a watered down version of Romney Care. Master legislator. Master, hasn't won anything outside of that. Nothing major accomplishment in decades. And everyone in the media kisses her ass. Look, I'll tell you what, it's not just the media. I knew I was gonna run out of time even though we were gonna go to 1 o'clock in the morning here, okay? So, a progressive group, I heard from another progressive group the other day, was like so psyched that Nancy Pelosi was gonna come in for a meeting with them. And I asked the person, why were they psyched? Like, I mean, it's a literal question, like, were they say, oh, access to power. Okay, that's fair. Okay, so what were they going to parlay that into? Okay, now you have access to power, so what is gonna be your ask of power? Like, are we gonna ask to pass a bill quicker, one that's on the bubble to push it over the bubble, the one that isn't on the bubble but we'd like to vote on? What are you gonna take that access and what are you gonna use it for your progressive organization? Oh, they hadn't thought of that. They just want access so they could have tea with Nancy Pelosi. That's what they want it for.
Sounds boring.
It sounds horrible, horrible. And everyone in Washington is obsessed with it. Oh my God, what if Nancy Pelosi came over? And then what, you schmucks? You egotistical pricks, and then what? Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.